Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Red Rock Presents Wired for Success. As you can tell, we're here at a different studio and location. I told you, with this podcast, anything can happen. So we want to give a special thank you to our host and long-term friends from Red Rock, Nikolai and the team at Title Production in Bolton. And yeah, I'm here joined with two lovely guests. One is someone that you're familiar with, who's been on the podcast before, and the man himself, Paul James.
Welcome. Hello.
Hello. And another special guest that we definitely want to give a warm welcome to, first time guest on the podcast, is Dave O'Hearn from Dawn Creative. How you doing, Dave?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Absolutely great. Question I love to ask everyone, first time on the podcast?
No, we run our own, not a rival one or anything like that. We run our own, invite people on, and then I've been on a few other ones, so no pro.
No worries. You got the experience though, so
yeah, I've done it a bit. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, I wanted to do this episode. It's a very special episode because by the time this comes out, you would have seen the changes on social media and all of our communications of the rebrand, the new look of Red Rock. So we're here with Dave, who worked closely with us on the rebrand design and the rebrand ethos. So just a quick conversation to let you know the reasons for the changes, again, the insights on how it came about and what you can expect from us moving forward. So before we get into that, Dave, let's just get a bit into yourself and Dawn Creative, the company that you own and work for. Could you give the audience a quick insight on yourself and Dawn Creative and the wonderful work you do for other businesses on Red Rock?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Dave. I've been doing what I do for 28 years this month.
Oh wow, nice.
Hence the grey trim on the sides. So 28 years. Realised quite early on that although I liked doing kind of logo design and a bit of identity work, that's all I thought it was back then. But I liked that bit because it was the bit that felt real and maybe could have some consistency. And then as you go through your career, you learn more and more about it. And then you get to a point where you set up your own brand agency, which is now 10 years this month as well. And you realise how many layers there are to a brand. And probably how misunderstood the word is.
Yeah.
I think most people probably think it is a logo,
it's a logo, yeah.
and some colours, and forget that the word brand is actually a replacement for business. Difference being is a brand actually, in theory, sticks to what it said it's going to stand for, and that could be from positioning or tone or values or whatever, but it actually has something to stand by and keep itself accountable. And I just loved that whole concept because that goes deeper than just the design visual layer.
Absolutely.
So as an agency, that's what we're all about. We'll assess everyone on that first and say, yeah, you might want a website, but I'm not going there. We're going to do something else, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure. Yeah. But it's doing it for the right reasons. For me, getting a brand right is the most important thing that a company can do.
Amazing. So I think that leads into really why we reached out to yourselves, which funny enough, I'll let Paul go into a bit more on why he thought a rebrand at that time was something Red Rock needed. But I remember the first chat we had with you, I was still new to the business myself and was looking for a new website. But I think the conversation we had with you when you came in, you actually opened our eyes into the opportunities we could actually uncover with a stronger brand. Were actually eye-opening, and I think from Paul James when he went back and went through all of the consultations we had with other businesses, it really stood out. So Paul, could you develop that more on the reasons why you thought a rebrand for Red Rock at that time was appropriate?
I think I always joke when I talk about the brand. I would agree with you when I speak to people about brand, they just go, "Oh, so you're getting a new logo?" That's it. No, there's a lot of it. It's just to go into detail because they don't understand what it is. But to be fair, neither did I. So can't really point fingers there. I always joke that we have the same business coach, and he always says the best words begin with C. And I just say that our brand, we didn't have one. It was just crap. There wasn't a brand, so I always say we rebranded. We didn't, because we didn't have a brand beforehand. Really, we just sort of had cobbled together logo with everything was red because we were called Red Rock. That was about as deep as it went. We had quite a good culture. We started to build values, so it adds into the brand, but we didn't have a consistent brand at all. And I think you got in touch. You saw a LinkedIn post. I think you sent me a message saying, I think you could, with what you've got, bring this together and push Red Rock far better than that you're doing at the moment. And so yeah, it just went from there, didn't it? That was the initial point of contact. But we did need, obviously we're just coming up to 6 years now, and for those first 5 years we didn't, our weakest point was always sales and marketing and anything sort of brand and pushing ourselves. We always thought, oh, we have great products or great services or great people. We'd never tell anyone about them, or we just keep it and presume people will suddenly somehow magically find out. So it's always sort of been talked about, business coach sessions, etc. And it just got to the point where we had the vision, we knew what we wanted to do, we had the goals for short, medium, long term, but the brand just did not fit. And so it was a good time to do it. I think, yeah, that's when we got together. Obviously, I think we knew each other a little bit through David, our business coach, and other contacts for networking. So yeah, it was just that initial conversation.
Amazing, yeah. And I remember it like just in the meeting room. It was like, "All right, Dave, we're looking for a new website. We want this to work. We want this to shine." And you was like, "No." Look at this. Like from that first initial meeting, Dave, what potential did you see within Red Rock if you actually tapped in to our, potential of the real Red Rock and where we wanted to be?
Yeah, I mean, I see potential in every company clearly, and for me, there's a lot of work to be done in the UK. But maybe it's people need to understand what a brand actually is first and foremost. But yeah. Paul, right, we know each other through a couple of different networks, really. So first and foremost, you've got to think, can you collectively work together? And are people going to buy into what it is that I'm talking about? Because sometimes people don't. They'll still then leave their own business and only drive a BMW and only have an Apple phone. So they kind of understand what a brand is and what it can do to them, but don't see it in their own business.
Yeah.
When I was chatting to you guys, and you said in the meeting room, we were sat there, and it was predominantly a website, and a lot of people will look at their own website and think either it's not responsive still, or it's the content's wrong, or maybe we've done some acquisitions or added products and services or something. It's become complicated, a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
So it might need a redesign, or a rebuild, and maybe some new innovations or functionality or whatever it might be. And they start there and think, well, that'll fix it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that will go through that process, and an agency will also say, oh, that's fine, yeah, we can give you a new website.
Yeah, that's to do.
But I was chatting to you, and behind us was a couple of banner stands.
I was going to bring that up. I knew it was coming up.
Yeah, the two phantom banners, yeah.
And those banner stands are in your own office at the moment, so they were hidden away. But they also went out, I believe, to places as well to represent you. Yeah. Now, I was critical of them, and one of our values is about being bold. Yeah, so I've got to call it out sometimes, and people don't like it. But you go, but I'm doing it for the fact that I believe things can be better.
100%.
So if I just said, oh, I'll write a website proposal for you, and maybe it matched a budget, and maybe you went, oh, I think Dave and his team are the right company to give the website to, and then we went through the process and you got a new shiny website. By us doing that, we should end up with a better website, whatever that means, yeah? But we might have accidentally made you look more expensive or cheap or whatever, whatever it is. And someone will have a perception when they go onto your website, an expectation. But they might have been at an event 2 days prior, and those banner stands would have been up. So the inconsistency now that I've given you is even worse, isn't it? Yeah, because you've got a new shiny website that might look modern and, like I say, maybe a little bit more expensive or more believable. But then you've got other assets out there that are the complete opposite to it. And then your social content and some of the posts were somewhere in between. And so you're causing more problems. So as an agency, we always say, look, start with the brand, and then everything else is just a deliverable to some degree, including a website. So with you guys, from a design perspective, there was room for improvement, which you can all agree with, yeah? And I kind of called that out. But you are also engaging with the concept and the process of trying to look at vision and mission and values, weren't you?
Yes,
As well.
absolutely. Yep.
And so as soon as I hear that and people have got an appetite to actually take that stuff seriously, that is where we can then start to say, right, we can have a relationship, because we need those values to be able to make decisions on the visual identity, and you need those values to make decisions on your business every day.
Yeah.
And it felt like a perfect match. And so I talked more about brand. You guys bought into it and understood it. Not many do. And luckily, we've all gone down this journey, soon to slowly be seen in the wild. But yeah, it's a lot of parts to it. You've got to be able to work together. You've got to, the client's got to believe in what we do as well.
Trust.
And then, I think we can do great things together then because of it.
Absolutely.
Hoping we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So far, I think the whole team, certainly me working closely with the team as well on the deliverables, have been super happy with the responsiveness and the final product. So yeah, we can't wait to share it with our audience and our clients and partners in the market and in the community. And community is something that we're big on, and I think, like you said, just having a unified message that we're saying to our customers, clients, and new customers as well, that they get the whole picture of Red Rock and it's not mixed messaging, I think is right, and the reason for the rebrand, if you'd agree.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think as we're trying to grow as well, it just helps focus where we want to go and where we want to be, externally and internally as a business, and it just matches against the sorts of customers, the sorts of industries we want to be involved with.
Absolutely. So I know from that meeting, there's a whole process that follows. Once we pressed the green button and we agreed and we said, we want to go through this rebrand journey.
The red button, I think.
The red button. There you go.
Red button would have kicked me out, would it not? That'd have been stopped.
We were hovering.
Yeah. It's like the meme where it's like the red button or the blue button. Yeah. But yeah, there's a whole process that follows to, I think, unmask who we want to be. There's a couple of workshops that we really enjoyed that Paul Bate joined as well. I know there's a couple of things like the David Beckham thing that probably won't get lived down.
We're on board a new starter at the moment, and I was going through the brand with her on Monday, which she loves, by the way. And we got to the David Beckham. And,
Well, he probably does smell great, doesn't he? He probably does smell great.
I want to hug him.
If you're watching, come on, David. But could you tell the audience how that process actually went from when we said, we want to go through this journey, to some of the things you did and the team did to really diagnose and come out with what we wanted to represent within our brand?
So yeah, it's pretty much a set process that we've developed, over years and years. And the first port of call is to sense an appetite for doing it, and not just for the sake of it. Sometimes rebrands happen and maybe they shouldn't have, but because there was a need for change, and it was at the right time in your business journey and things like that as well. So that's got to be a starting point. As I mentioned earlier, you'd been looking into things like a vision and values and things like that. Yeah. So that's always a good sign. We will always ask people, do they have that at the start? And if they haven't got any of it, then we go, okay, we've got to create them for us to do our best work and for you to actually create a brand. Yeah. Because if you haven't got them, for me, you haven't got a brand at all. Yeah. You've got a logo and a business.
Was that important to start off with that in that process with us?
Yeah, for me, it's a huge part of it. Values used properly. Yeah. So written, agreed, and then can be actionable and memorable. Yeah. Can transform businesses. There's no doubt about it. The problem is that most people have probably seen the process. Maybe they've been stuck on frames in a corridor somewhere, or they're sat on a server and never referenced by the company. So they're pointless. Yeah. Yeah. I believe that as soon as you can get out of the founder's opinion, model, and actually document this is what we stand for as an organization, every conversation moving forward is completely different, because it's not about, my boss is moaning at me again, he's dead opinionated. His opinions or her opinions are value based. It's their values inside them, and they can't express them. So, and maybe people aren't living up to those values, so they get frustrated. and employ someone else, and then they all get frustrated.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, you get to that really, really early on and agree it, and then they become this thing that drives all decision making. The interesting bit about it is that decision making becomes tough as well, because the founders of the company have to be held accountable too.
Yeah.
So they can't just say, oh, we'll do this tomorrow because that'll make us some money, if it goes against what they stand for, because then someone else who they employ would say, I can't believe they've made that decision because it goes against what we stand for. So then actually they can then question the values and they can misbehave because someone else misbehaved, and then the whole thing can fall apart. Yeah. So I could tell you were taking them seriously, but you agreed that they probably needed some work and refinement and hopefully some inspiration as to how you actually use values as well. So once we had those conversations, we booked in the first workshop, didn't we? And we get people within the team to sit down. Typically a day can be split into 2 days, and we all go through a number of different things. So one of it's identifying your audience, and that means all the people that will engage with the Red Rock brand now and in the future. Doesn't just mean customers or clients, and we had that conversation, didn't we, about language as to what do we call them in this company. We'll do exercises around positioning within your own industry, but to try and simplify it and get everyone on board, we'll do little tests where we might use supermarket brands or car brands, for example, because everyone kind of understands them. And then you play the game of, well, who would you want to be if you were a supermarket, for example? So there's a big difference between Lidl and Waitrose, both from a visual identity perspective, how their shops are presented and built, the width of their aisles, and the price of the basket. They're both brilliant at doing what they do, but Waitrose is terrible at giving you a cheap basket, and Lidl's terrible at giving you a really expensive one. But everything about them matches, the logos, the colours that are chosen match where they want to be positioned. So it's critical to understand where you want to be. And there's no bad or good there, because Lidl and Aldi are flying. So it doesn't mean just because you've chosen to be more colourful at the lower end of the market, that's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just knowing that that's where you want to be.
Absolutely.
So we do that exercise, certainly in your space as well. We talked a lot about the fact, or this is my view on it, so sorry for anyone else who's your competitors, but it's generally presented pretty poorly, I think. Similar to some of the finance as well as a sector. It kind of feels like it's a wash of blues and greys and quite drab presentation.
Yeah.
And I knew that wasn't you. And at the same time, when you think about what you do as an organisation, if you go into your business tomorrow and everyone says, oh, nothing's working, internet's down, phone line's down, can't do anything. That'll be the first thing everyone says, can't do anything. Right? Well, you can't think or get a pad and a pen and brainstorm or, have a team meeting about planning or anything. There's loads you could do, but the first thing is, no, that's it. We're out of business, can't do anything today. You kind of go home kind of thing,
Yeah.
So then what you do becomes critical to the success of a business, just for it to operate in the modern world, And then you've got the consultancy advice and guidance you give people about what's coming into the market, what does the future hold. As they grow, they need to adapt and their comms need to change and things like that. So you're a proper integral partner to the success of a business. Pretty important, But your sector presents itself like, we kind of like know a bit about tech and IT and we're quite boring and drab. And that's not what it is anymore for me. It's a completely different vibe.
Absolutely.
So the workshop is about pushing those boundaries and the envelope of what you could be and going through the process of reviewing the values that you had, then defining them based on all the input that we're getting, and then shaping a visual identity to reflect that, with a view that the new identity will say those things to a new and existing audience. And if it says those things, then as they engage with you as people, you've got to deliver on those things as well. Because it's okay saying it, but if it then doesn't happen, then you've just lied and broken a promise, haven't you, by putting something out there. And so a good brand needs to do both things well. It's like, this is what we're about, this is what we stand for. Do you want to engage and visit the site and then make a call? And then after that, all the things that you stand for and your values need to be delivered through the work that you do people you recruit, how you engage in the community, all those things then need to live and breathe as well. So the workshop's all about that, like, who are we going to be in this world? Why do we exist? Kind of conversations, yeah, which was great, always is great. And then from that, you define the strategy, like where are we positioned, what's the personality, how does that impact the tone of voice, what brand values do we now have, and what do they mean to us on a day-to-day basis? We all agree those, sign off the strategy document, and then we go away, start developing the identity that's reflective of what you want to be. And then you start thinking about ways to transform and change your business through operations, processes, recruitment, and so forth. All done well. It's harmonious, consistent, and companies start to grow off the back of it.
Absolutely. I just think we can start to see that. So, Paul, from your point of view, how have you found that process working with Dawn and kind of becoming the new Red Rock self?
I think originally it's the trust thing. It's like, I discussed it with David, the business coach, and it's like, Dawn know what they're doing. You just have to trust them. They're experts in it. Because you always think when you start getting the first lots of work through, these are the templates, you start making corrections, and I think you've got to do this, you do this, do this. They're very good at sort of just settling you down and going, no, trust us on this. You need to keep it minimal. Don't start cluttering it up. Don't start adding in stuff that you just don't need. One of the biggest things I struggle with, and even now I had a video call yesterday with Anna about the website. It's like, you just need to cut it all. Cut it. You've got too much text, too much this, too much that. It's a very difficult thing to do. So it's just those lots of discussions over the last 6 to 8 months as we've gone through it about trying just to understand who we are, and what we want to be. It makes you think at a much deeper level, and it's a bit difficult at the moment because we're changing. Well, this is subjective, but in Red Rock we're changing very quickly. There's a lot of stuff happening. We're doing the brand, doing the website. We've got some other announcements coming up in terms of where we're heading. People coming in. We moved all the internal communications to Teams. There's a huge amount happening, and it's trying to balance that with the brand, and it's just having those discussions internally and just trying to find the best way forward.
Absolutely.
But I mean, one of the things, just going back to your point on the website and IT services in general across the country, one of the best comments, I showed everyone obviously the prototype, the homepage, the first when it got sent over a few weeks ago, and one of the best comments internally from the team was, I've never seen an IT website or a telecoms website look like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just completely fresh.
Yeah.
Every one of them looks the same. Might be different colours, but it's all tech heavy, buzzwords, all follow the same format.
Yeah.
It's just a complete change, which I thought was the best. The comments, everyone that contributed, I thought that was the best one.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to mention that because I know I was wanting to go back to it. But yeah, I think it just gives us a confidence as well going forward that we've got the brand in place. For me, I treat it as sort of a framework. It constrains us in a good way. We know how we need to communicate visually as well with you. We know all the values. We need them anyway. They've sort of just been tweaked and modernised as such. Because going back to the values, one of the things with the onboarding, and it was quite nice to do, is I keep like the initial vision, mission, purpose statements, and then I add when they've changed over time to where they are now. So you can reference on the same slide for our vision or our mission. You've got the first drafts from 2020, and then the second draft, and then the ones we've done with you. And you can just see like the initial vision was to be the best, to be the number one B2B telecoms business in the Northwest. It's like, how generic.
It's like, what does that mean?
What does it mean? Number one in what? Customer service? Number one sales, number one in people, number one in... It's so generic. And now it's such a much more modern, and it just fits Red Rock so much better. And it gives us the room to breathe in the future as well. So as we add in new services, which we'll obviously be announcing soon, that'll be another podcast. it gives us that room, it doesn't constrain us to be the number one telecoms. Therefore, we can't do anything else because we have to be the number one telecoms.
Yeah.
So it's just all those discussions about how the brand and Red Rock, everything fits together.
Absolutely, and I agree with what Paul said. Like, as soon as we seen the new website, everyone just felt, wow, this is fresh. Like, this is new, it's urban, it's current. And I agree totally from your earlier point of, imagine having that website, but everything else is still the same.
Yes.
It's like customers are seeing, wow, they got a really nice website, but seeing them at the expo.
They're really
last
traditional
week,
and
and
old,
they're very
old
still,
style.
traditional. And I think through the whole process, which I thoroughly enjoyed, from the workshops to working with the team, is really, you're not scared to push us to, be bolder. No, like, tell us more, be more transparent, be more community appeal. And I think from now, we're really getting the real Red Rock, and we are different from other telecom companies within the industry. I think initially, even as we are now, we're way more fresh, we're way more bubbly, we've got a great personality, and that's what everyone says. And it's not being scared to tell people our success stories and go out and boast about the great work we do for our customers and clients and community. And our new brand through this process is strengthening our voice and actually claiming it, being bold in our approach and not being scared to tell people like, hey, look, we are Red Rock, this is how we stand, and if you come on board with us, this is what we will do for you. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think there's some great work to come from it, and the continuous relationship with you.
Yeah, I always remember in the workshop specifically, we had a good chat, probably 15-20 minutes in the end, about what would you wear if you went to a prospect meeting.
That debate,
Yeah.
And I think quite a few of you instantly went, well, we'll smarten up and wear like a shirt and trousers or something. And then I played out a role of saying, well, imagine you didn't. Imagine that you guys actually turned up with maybe black trousers or combat pants or whatever, and then maybe a hoodie or something like that. I said, would that feel more like a cutting edge modern company that has got its eye on the future of tech and how that can impact a business? Or do you think the people in the white shirts and the grey pants would feel that way? And these are critical decisions, and you can only make them if you know where you want to be positioned in the market and what your values are. And then people's perception of anything, a social post to how you turn up to a meeting and how you present yourself are all critical, and they've got to be delivered consistently. So I love those types of conversations because they're pushing the boundaries, but getting people to realise that the brand isn't, a logo and colours. It's every decision you make is a brand-based decision.
100%.
And that comes down to what should we wear when we go to a prospect meeting, and how do we present ourselves, with slides or not slides, how do we go about doing
the laptop
it?
or not?
Exactly.
100%.